Welcome back to Lift the Lid Leadership 423. So glad you joined me again for our next episode here of this exploration into leadership and how we can become the most that we are with our God-given talents. And let me just remind you what the basis of that. Why 423? Well, it actually goes back to an ancient proverb written by a guy by the name of King Solomon. And he wrote in this proverb, and it's from the book of Proverbs in the Bible, chapter 4, verse 23. It basically just says this: guard your heart, for out of it flows the issues of life. And so when you understand that our heart, what he's referring to is our heart is what are our dreams? What are our passions? What is our purpose that we're here to accomplish? And when we unlock what's really inside of our heart and not what other external sources are trying to put into it, when we unlocked it, we become the people we were designed to be. And that is so key to everything that we do and accomplishing the things that we really want to accomplish and have meaning in our lives. So let me just jump into the next part here. I shared a little bit about my story in the first episode, and now I want to jump into a piece that I think is just foundational to our whole conversation, and that is understanding what our roadblocks are that keep us from reaching our potential. And for me, I think I had to take a step back and really be honest with myself, and I think that is the key, is that we're just truly willing to face the reality of who we are, both on the things that are talents and the things that are not. And let me just kind of put it in terms of this. If you see behind me, right behind me is University of Toledo University Hall Tower, which is almost 100 years old. And over the last 100 years, this tower has not changed very much. Now, there's been some internal things that they've done some renovations. There have been cleaning up of the stone and things like that. So there are some things that can happen, but just like with us, there are things that we cannot change. We can't change our height. We can't change the way we talk or our voice. We can somewhat have some effect on the outer appearance in terms of what we eat and what our exercise habits are and some of those things. So there are some pieces that affect it, but our personality is our personality too. And while we can adjust our personality to a certain degree, we're just wired a certain way. And so those things are not changing, but there's a lot of things that if we really look deep down, that if we change those things and we work on those things over time, we can really develop. And I think I'll just share some of my things that I had to really come to grips with. One of them is I'm not a big charisma guy. People get around me, they're not necessarily inspired by my personality. But the thing that I do have that really connects with people is authenticity. And it's that authenticity that I am how I appear to be. There's not really any surprises. Um, and so people really appreciate that there's an authenticity there about that. And I had another issue I had to deal with. I had this scarcity mentality, and I still struggle with that some. This idea of, gosh, I got to hold on to things because there's only a limited amount of resources, and if I don't take care of all these things and I lose one, it may come crashing down. And yet there's a whole nother side of things that looks at an abundance mentality, saying there's just continual opportunity out there, and there's abundant of resources, and they're not limited. And when we recognize that, it allows us to partner better, allows us to share better, allows us to really work with people better. Another issue that I dealt with was just not listening well. You know, Stephen Covey wrote a book, Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. And one of the things he talked about was seek first to understand, then to be understood. And that has to do with listening well, because a lot of times have a conversation, I would just want to jump in and give my opinion about something rather than to actually take the time and seek and try to understand what's being said so we can have a more productive conversation. You know, as I shared in the first video, one of the things that really impacted me was when Harvey came to me and said, hey, leadership is not about status or about being in command, it's about influence. You know, how revolutionary that thought was to me as I began to chew on that and think about it, you know. And I have this inner critic. I still have this inner critic that tells me I'm not good enough, or there's not things that, you know, and it deals, feeds into insecurity and stuff like that, that I have to mentally recognize and adjust to in the moment. Another thing, I tend to be a people pleaser. You know, I want to please people. I don't want anybody to be upset with me. But that in and of itself causes me to have dysfunction and not lead well if I'm more concerned with pleasing people than I am with doing the right things. So I would just encourage you to just think about, all right, what are those things that, if you're really, really honest with yourself, need to be improved on? And as we daily walk through those things, it's amazing. So we talked about the building, but now we look at the trees. See, when we look at those trees back there, one day they were just this big when they were planted, or maybe a little bit taller when they were planted. But over years and years, they've grown. And now, actually, in the fall, they've changed colors. So in their seasons, they're adjusting, they're growing, they're doing what they should do in the particular season that they're in. So not only is there growth, but there's different seasons that we have to show different colors in as well. So think about this. Until our next time, you can work on identifying and just really being honest. What are those things? And ask people around you, what are things that I really need to grow in that would help me in my leadership? And this will begin as we walk through this process to lift that lid, to lift that glass ceiling off of what's holding us back to becoming our full potential of what we're designed to be. And so, hope you have a great day. Look forward to seeing you next week.